Welcome back. I'm Janine and this is Quest for You. Our journey together to find back to ourselves, to who we really are and what we really want out of this life. This is episode 278. It's really easy to blame yourself and take all the fault. It's also really easy to blame it all on the other person. We tend to go either extreme. People that don't like to take responsibility, that are not good at self-reflection. They find it easier to criticize others. That's what they do by default. They see themselves as the victim of someone else's inconsiderate actions. And they make sure to let everyone know. Because victims always need some affirmation from the outside to make them feel supported. Their favorite question is, why did they do this to me? I've been that person many times. When someone else ruined my day, my trip, and my hopes, I blamed them, and I blamed my bad luck. This ruined many good relationships in my life. People that don't have respect for themselves take all the blame. They like to suffer. They consider themselves not good enough, not smart enough, not valuable enough. They are quiet when others yell. They apologize for things they didn't do. They try to make peace with those who are making war. And they live in constant regret. Their favorite question is, why did I do this? I've been that person many times. I've beaten myself up way too much. Spent days agonizing over the actions and words of others. Crawled underneath my covers and cried over my inability to turn back time so I could make things right. I lost hope. I gave up on myself and I gave up on others. This ruined many good relationships in my life. We do what comes easiest to us in the moment. We take a side, left or right. We fight or we surrender. And sometimes the decision is based on whatever the other person does. One person is cold, so we turn hot. Sometimes we just want to please and be liked. We want everything to be okay because we love, trust, and admire the one who's blaming us. So we take the outside beating and make it an internal one. We take the fault. It's one way to resolve the conflict, in our eyes. One person is cold, so sometimes we are cold as well. We defend ourselves. We don't give in, no way. We argue our point just as well as the other person. They don't take ownership, so why should we? It's another way to resolve the conflict, in our eyes. But standing on the edge like this is not really resolving conflict. It's a way to protect ourselves from it. Yelling across the field, throwing darts from a distance, or hiding from them and retreating into silence. This is not really engaging with the other person. Stepping into the middle ground, on the other hand, finding a compromise, seeing and hearing the other person, understanding what they're feeling and relating to it, admitting a mistake, speaking up and taking a stand, explaining circumstances, listening and being open. It's the last thing we think of. It doesn't occur in the heat of the battle. It doesn't come natural. It's hard. Taking an extreme stand is easy, because there is no thinking involved, no effort. John Steinbeck said, all war is a symptom of man's failure as a thinking animal. It's easy to just give up, throw your weapons into the field and surrender. It's easy to just blame, by holding onto your weapons and fighting till the bitter end. Everything in between is hard. Trying to meet somewhere in the middle, actually addressing the issue. And keeping the relationship not only alive, but growing it. Because working through conflict brings us closer. Stepping out onto the battlefield means showing your face, your fears, and your courage. It reveals more of who we are. Working through challenges binds us together. It builds bridges. It strengthens connections. It brings us closer as human beings because we actually accomplished something together. I have been that person a few times. when I admitted my mistakes and really meant it, or when I spoke up for myself without being afraid of the reaction, when I listened instead of talked, when I tried to put myself in the other person's shoes, when I honestly looked for ways to find a resolution that would work for both. That is when I saved a few important relationships in my life. But it only works when the other person tries as well. Both of you have to take a step out onto the ledge and be willing to risk a little bit of uncertainty, vulnerability, and courage. Being humble, not afraid to admit failure or speak up, not scared of what the other person might think, not just looking out for your best interest, but placing importance on a win-win for both parties. Those are some of the skills required to manage conflict. Everything else, the extreme, the withdrawal, the pushback, the judgment, and the accepting of all fault, these don't involve working with the other person. They keep you to yourself, in your own world, safe and protected, but not challenged. And every time you keep to yourself, you don't learn, you don't grow, you don't add any value to the relationships in your life. If you both cannot step out together and come closer, or if only one of you makes the effort, if the relationship only works when there is no conflict, no battle, no interruption, then it's a relationship that will not grow. You will not grow. You will not be challenged to be better. Everything will remain the same. The only effort will be to maintain peace. All your energies directed to keep status quo. Conflict provides an opportunity to grow. Let's use it as such and not shy away from it. I'd like to end with this quote from Thomas Paine. The harder the conflict, the more glorious the triumph. What we obtain too cheap, we esteem too lightly. It is dearness only that gives everything its value. I love the man that can smile in trouble, that can gather strength from distress and grow. Much love, my friends.